Hello, my name is Andrea Shalal Isa, and we're here today with Wasyl Palijczuk, a longtime professor at McDaniel College, and before that, Western Maryland College. Thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting.
We are so excited to have you here. You taught art here at Western Maryland College and then later McDaniel for over 3 decades.
At least, yes.
Can you
Close
tell
to
us?
4.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your history? Where were you born?
Well, I was born in Ukraine. Most people think it's Russia. It isn't. And I was born, where I come from was under Poland at that time. And my mother died when I was 6 months. I have no idea who she is. My father basically was a slave to Poland, and then in 1941 the Russians came and they took him away, and I was left by myself in a one-room thatched house, no electricity, no water, no nothing. I had no clothes. I had one long shirt that had a string, and that was my outfit. No shoes, no pants, no nothing. 1941, the Russians took my father. He got, I don't know where he went, for how long. Finally he escaped, and that was in the late spring. He almost drowned in the river because the ice was breaking. When he came in, the Germans came, and they took him away. So between 1942 and 1945, he and I were in Germany. He was a slave laborer in a factory, rubber factory. I was a houseboy. I couldn't go to school since I wasn't German, so all I did is exist and work. In 1945, after the war, for some reason, I have no idea, he's not an educated man, he couldn't, I don't know how he found me after 3 years of not seeing him. So we went into DP camps, which are displaced persons camp. One was in Munich, the other one was in SS Kaserne, where the SS used to be. It's a huge, monstrous place. And there were just all kinds of people, Polish, Ukrainian, Russian, Goys, Jewish, just a whole combination of people. I was always the hustler for some reason because I didn't have anything, so I went on the black market and I used to collect chocolates and stockings and all that and cigarettes, and I went to Munich and exchanged it for bread and for fish, herrings and all that. Then I used to go to the camp and hustle it 6 floors up and down, and I was trying to sell pounds of bread and fish. My whole thing was smelly as heck, but I somehow made it, because we didn't have that much to eat and all that. I also remember one time I used to go to Marientheresenplatz in the center of Munich, and I used to collect butts. And the reason I collect butts because I took them apart and I rolled cigarettes for my father to give him TB and all that, make him sick. I didn't know that. I used to go there, and the American soldiers used to around there flirting with women and all that, giving them stockings and all that for a night. And some of them discovered I was collecting butts, so some of them would light up and they look at me and boom, threw the cigarette right at me, so I collected it. That was part of my life, you see, in there. And so finally we went to another place, and I got sick in a hospital, spent about almost 8 months. My father was another DP camp. And so here I am sitting on my bed doing some drawing, and next to me was an empty bed. And next day, a boy came over and a woman, and she was talking to him and all that. All of a sudden, she saw me drawing and said, "What are you doing?" And I don't remember what she spoke, English or German, whatever. That was a long time ago. So it came to the point where she says, "What are you doing?" I says, "Well, I'm just sitting here. I don't know what to do. I've been here for so many long months." And then out of the blue sky, she said, "Would you like to come to America?" And to me, at that young age, I almost said to myself, it's like asking a dead guy, you want to go to heaven or to hell? So of course I said I want to go to heaven, and I said I want to go to America. And she somehow decided that maybe, she said, maybe I can help you go there. So sure enough, sometimes later, she got me transferred from the hospital to an American Children's Home. And I was spent there about 10 months, and then after that, they got my papers straightened out, and they took me to America.
Where was the first place you went in America?
Well, they took me to Bronx in New York. And guess what? There was a house on top of the hill, and it turned out to be a synagogue. So on the second floor, the children were sleeping. The first floor was the synagogue, and the basement was the kitchen. So I remember Saturdays, I used to come down, or holidays, I used to go down to get to eat. And some guy would say, come, 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 come. I didn't know what he wanted, and so he took me to the synagogue, and so I had to turn out the lights or put the lights on. So I became the Sabbath Goy. Okay? Anyhow, I spent there 3 months, and then one day they said, we're taking you to the train station, and you're going to Baltimore. So this guy, the driver, spoke Polish, and I understand Polish, Russian, Ukrainian, and a little bit German and all that. And so he says, well, I'm taking you to a train station, and you're going to Baltimore. I said, Baltimore? What's the Baltimore? He says, you don't want to go there? I said, no. He says, where do you want to go? I want to go to California. There's cowboys, Indian, and gold. So the guy is handing me the ticket to the train and says, good luck. Baltimore is 200 miles closer to California. And that's how I wound up in Baltimore.
What did you do when you came to Baltimore? You were, by this point, you were about 16, 15, 16?
I was roughly 14 and a half, 15, thereabout. So anyhow, so I came to Baltimore. They put me in an old woman's house. She had some children, and she had an empty room, and she could house somebody like me. And of course, I had to go to school. Now remember, I only had third grade education in Ukrainian, and I also 3 years in Germany without speaking Ukrainian. I forgot Ukrainian. So eventually they put me in a 3rd grade of Ukrainian school. I don't speak Ukrainian anymore, just German. So after a couple months, I got transferred to another camp. So in about roughly a year and a half, through all this camp, I finished 3rd grade of Ukrainian school. So when I'm in America, what do you do with a guy who doesn't speak English, has 3rd grade education in Ukrainian? So they put me in the 9th grade. 9th grade. Now remember, I don't speak English. I don't know what to talk about. You know what? After that first year, I was put on an honor roll. And the reason why I did all right was there was a lady, a woman who is a history teacher, and she's the one who spent time with me. Lida Keating, her name. And she was wonderful. So women are the ones who saved me all my life.
And you're still in touch with her?
Well, actually, she's dead.
Oh, she passed away.
Yeah. The lady who helped me come to America is still alive. She's 10 years older than I am, 87.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's unbelievable.
You've been very lucky. You've had a very difficult life, but you've been very lucky in all of it.
Totally not by my control. It's totally accidental. It's like I came to this college here, totally accidentally.
But you make your own luck too, don't you?
Well, you have to work. You have to be able to make the best out of what you have. You want me to tell you how you got to college?
Absolutely. How did you come here?
Well, after finishing bachelor's degree and master's and Master of Fine Art and 4 years of Air Force in a SAC, I was going to open a studio in Baltimore. And I get this phone call from a woman. know who she is. Lois Shipley from Western Maryland College, art department. And she says, I'm a friend of Lyda Keating, your ex-teacher. And I was wondering if you would like to teach. I said, teach? I'm trying to open a studio in Baltimore and you want me to teach? I says, not particularly. She said, why don't you come over? So sure enough, I came over to the art department of Western Maryland College. I meet this woman, Lois Shipley. She's nice and talks to me and all that. Sure you don't want to teach? I'm not sure. We talked, and after about half an hour, she signed me up without any papers, without anything at all. Just took my word and took my ex-teacher's word and hired me right on the spot. You better not do that again. That's illegal. Can't do it. But I had 2 master's degrees, and I was teaching summer school, and I was running an intelligence department in SAC Ackerman, so I wasn't exactly the dumbest, but you know. So.
How did you find teaching then? Did you enjoy teaching?
I love teaching. I cannot imagine not doing anything else. First of all, some teachers were complaining, oh, you know, the salary is this and all that. I said, look, who do you know that has January off? Who do you know has weekends off, you know, 2 or 3 days? Who do you know has the summer off? And if you don't like the salary, take this 3 months off, 2.5 months in summer and get a job, you know. No, I love teaching. I think teaching is fantastic. I love teaching, and here I had no problem for all these years.
Did you see a lot of changes in Carroll County over those years?
Oh, Carroll County, of course, yeah. It was quite a little, well, I don't want to mention it, but it was obviously not what it is now. And the college obviously changed. I mean, it has all these buildings and all this, and totally changed. So, yeah, I think for the better. Yeah. I think very highly of this place.
When you first kind of began, can you talk about how you became interested in art? How did this interest develop, and how did you sort of know that this was your calling? I
didn't know it's my calling. It just happened. As I said, in Ukraine, where I was the poorest peasant you can find, a house, a room maybe twice as big as this, undetached, no running water, no heating, no nothing. I had no paintings, no drawings, no art, no sculpture, no paper, no pencils. I didn't know what art is about, except in the spring when it was, raining. The Ukrainian black soil becomes very muddy and all that, and I noticed some kids were collecting, making, I don't know what they were making, some kind of pies, or I don't know what they were making. And for some stupid reason, I have no idea where it comes from, I started to build something. It wasn't pies, it wasn't sculpture because I didn't know what sculpture is, but I was sort of building it. I mean, I didn't even know whether it was human or animal form, but I was just building it up. That was one of my beginnings, you see. Oh, one time I also forgot. The walls were almost as white as this. And while my father was working for Poland and all that, once in a while, most of the time I was by myself at home. So once in a while I got bored and I didn't know what to do. So I saw this stove that was burning wood. Of course there's black chalk, there. So for some stupid reason, I have no idea, I went and picked up some of those things, and I look around. So I started to do the whole wall in that black lines. I didn't know what I was doing. It wasn't like figures or anything. I was just doing it. Well, my father came home, and he beat the tar out of me. And that, if I would have been wise, would have told me, don't become an artist. But no, it's just the opposite. I became an artist. I don't know why.
Persistent spirit, huh?
I don't know why. It's really a puzzle. My whole life is a puzzle for me.
And so when you were in high school, then you started to take art classes.
I mean, in high school in America.
In high school in America, yeah.
Yeah, well, the thing is, when I came to America, I had third grade education, couldn't speak English. They put me in the 9th grade, okay? After finishing 9th grade, not speaking English, well, I was put on an honor roll. And then all of a sudden, they decided to do something with me, put me in the 10th grade, but to Baltimore City College, which at that time was one of the 6 best high schools in America. Why put me in there? I don't hardly speak English. Why put me in there? Sure enough, I spent the 10th, 11th, and 12th, and finished with a scholarship.
Fantastic. And then you went on to study art at the University of Maryland?
No, that was after that. All of a sudden, I get this letter from U.S. government telling me, we're drafting you. I said, are you kidding me? I survived Poland, Russia, Germany, and I came in here and they want me to go in the army? I must be crazy. So I was going to go to the Navy. I don't know why. I don't, take a like. And I walk in and the guy says, can I help you? I says, yeah, I'd like to join the Navy. And of course I had an accent. And he says, are you a citizen? I says, no, I'm not a citizen. I've only been here 3 years, something years. He said, we can't take you. And I said to myself, this is America. The Army was drafting you. The Navy can't take you because you're not a citizen. So I said, there's something going on. So I said, okay, why not join the Air Force? So I went to the Air Force recruiter. He says, can I help? I said, yeah, I'd like to join the Air Force. He says, okay. Just sign in the air and all that. And he says, what can you do? I said, well, I speak Polish, Russian, Ukrainian, and a little German and a little bit of English. He says, okay, we can use you, as almost like they would take me into intelligence, okay. So I signed up, and after 3 months in here in New York, they transferred me to Washington State. SAC Command, bombers, okay. So what you do with a foreigner who can't read too well, can't speak too well, they put him in the hospital as a clerk typist. First, I don't know what the heck typing is about. Second one, I have no idea about language writing now. So sure enough, 3 or 4 months, that's what I am, a clerk typist. Finally, there's a lieutenant coming in, and he looked around, we talked and all that. And he says, what are you doing here? I said, you tell me, I don't know. He said, would you like to be transferred? I said, of course. So he transferred me into the intelligence section, and I became a draftsman illustrator. I had my own section. I had people working with me and all that. So I spent 3.5 years in intelligence as a draftsman and illustrator. For the bombers, when they're going to bomb them, they're coming back, they have to be briefed, debriefed, and all that. So that was my job in the Air Force. Also in Guam, I spent 3.5 months in Guam. Mm-hmm. That's in case, there's a war, they want you to transfer things and all that. So that was my Air Force, and then I got discharged, and what do? You got to go to school. So I went to the University of Maryland, finished my bachelor's in 3 years. Then I became the first candidate for a Master of Sculpture. So I got my Master of Art degree. And then I went to Baltimore, was going to open a studio. So I get this call, as I told you, from a guy who says, what are you doing here? I said, well, I'm trying to open a studio. He says, did you ever consider going to Maryland Institute of Fine Arts Sculpture? I says, no, why? So well, they give you a master's degree of fine art, they give you a free studio, they give you free tuition, and all that. And I said, no, not really. And then all of a sudden I woke up and said, a free studio, free tuition, free thing, and a Master of Fine Art. And if I wouldn't have the Master of Fine Art, I couldn't have a job in here. because to be a good teacher or qualified teacher, you have to have a Master of Fine Arts, not just a Master of Art. That's how I got a job here, because of that. Accidentally, I didn't ask for it.
Wow.
But if somebody's giving you free tuition and free studio and all that, you're imbecile not to take it. So.
Well, you've been very well recognized for your work. You are your sculptures are in many places, and you just got some good news today. You told me.
Oh yeah. For some reason, I was invited to Palijczuk, Estonia, for the first time. I was the only American out of over 100 people, artists. And why I was recommended, I have no idea. So I went there to Palijczuk, Estonia, and you walk in, and they give you a stone. My stone was 11 feet tall, huge. And they gave you 10 days to carve it. I am a stone novelist. I write my novel in stone. So I took that stone and I started carving. 10 days. I carved it and finished it, went to America, and guess what they did? They took that stone, and in the center park in Palijczuk, they have a fountain, and they have a museum, and my stone sculpture is right in the middle between them. And I said to myself, that's marvelous. It's a miracle. Why would it happen to me? 2 years later, they called me again. And I said, it's not real. It's not a nightmare, but it's definitely not real. So I went again. Well, I selected another huge stone, 10, 12 feet tall, and that was Palijczuk, or Estonians, 90 years of independence. So I'm a novelist. So what do? You write about Estonia, 90 years of freedom. So I had this image of a realistic man with a woman with a baby holding, then I had an abstract 90, then I had all kinds of other symbols and all that. And I carved it and I left. And for years I didn't know what happened. Today I'm getting a message by some guy who has a connection named Bob, and he says, guess what? The sculpture piece is right in front of the city hall in Palijczuk. They just put it there.
What an incredible honor.
Unbelievable, it's, and there were hundreds of artists doing that. They had some, all over the city, but nothing like that. I mean, I don't know why. So somebody likes it.
Well, apparently.
Yeah.
Can you tell us where some of your sculptures are?
Well,
besides Estonia, and we should say that Palijczuk is the sister city of Westminster.
Westminster, right? That's how they got connected.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of my biggest 6.5-ton fountain granite stone is right here between the chapel and the library. Mm-hmm. And that's a story of art, story of education, story of humanity, story of history and all that. And it has water spouting out of the wisdom of an owl, which is supposed to be wisdom of the teachers. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, I have that a piece of steel sculpture piece as you enter the college. On the left side, the president's, almost said palace, president's house. There is a sculpture piece called the Welcome, and I did that. And of course, there are all kinds of stones that I brought in that is still there. And there's one of my biggest painting in the president's room that they bought for $600. Well, it's probably about $6,000, but it's in the president's room. And the lady who was in charge put it there so you can see it right away. Then I have stone and, I have sculpture piece in a community college, and then I have some thing in cemeteries in New York, and then I have some, what else? Oh yeah, there's this huge sculpture piece in I always forget the place, but
Taylor.
Taylor Manor, yeah, that's a huge one in there. So off and on, yeah, I have some sculpture pieces, yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about how your early history and the poverty and just the, the deprivation you experienced influenced and shaped your life in terms of your art, and what sort of themes you explore in your art?
Well, basically, I'm exploring my life, not yours. I don't know your life, okay? I'm telling a story about my life as I'm telling a story about this college, about the education, about in here. So basically, when you see my paintings, they usually have something to do about my background. They have something to do with Ukraine, they have something to do with my poverty, and something to do with I'm a Ukrainian hillbilly, and Ukrainian to be a hillbilly is an honor. It's not derogatory, because they're the most creative carvers and designers and all that. So I like woods. And also I spent years in Bavaria, in Germany, in the mountains, which obviously I enjoy to see. So, but anyhow, I'm talking and I'm describing about my background. Yours are sometimes included, but basically I'm telling a story about myself.
Mm-hmm. What do you think? What do you think makes it possible for someone like you to survive such difficulties?
I had no choice.
Mm-hmm.
It's like nobody asked me.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody asked. My mother died over 6 months. I had no mother. Mm-hmm. Nobody asked. I was under Poland, and my father was away most of the time. I was basically like a village dog. Okay, I had no family, no connect. Nobody told me what to do. I had a long shirt that had a string attached around. No pens, no shoes. Nobody told me what to do. I was starving to death. I went and tried to steal some apple or do something or find some berries. I don't know why. I can't explain. It just happened. I mean, I came to America. I couldn't speak English. So what? Are you supposed to just lay down and die? No, I did my best. I had no parents, no father, no mother tell me what to do and not to do. It just happened.
Do you think that Americans appreciate and cherish art as much as they should? Are you, what do you think about our society and how the place that art has in our world?
Oh, I think art is obviously everywhere you go. I mean, you can't avoid not to have art. Now, it's quite clear that if you're an artist, you have a little tougher time. Some of us are very successful and make millions and all that, and some are just barely existing. I personally think that if I weren't a teacher in here, I probably would make a living, but I wouldn't survive as well as I did as a teacher. And of course, being a teacher, and you're showing, you have students and all that. Even now, I'm already invited to judge a show in York and Hanover and all that. To judge, I'm the only judge judging 300 plus pieces of work. I mean, come on. I mean, that's quite a job. So, yeah, you do get some benefit out of it. But no, I think Americans are good art supporters, and everywhere you go, you see art and all that. So, no, I don't have any problem.
And you've mentioned that you're interested in bonsai now. How did you become interested in that?
That's a natural hillbilly thing. I like trees, and I like to see what they do. And I'm fascinated by bonsais. I went to the arboretum in Washington, and listen to this, I saw a tree that is that big, approximately, that is over 300 years old. Do you understand what I'm saying? For 300 plus years, somebody had to water that daggone thing, had to trim it once, had to replace the soil, you don't have an imagination what it takes to, you have children and you raise them for 2 years, 3 years, 5, 10, 20, 21. Oh, my kid is 21, 300 plus years, a bonsai like this. How can you not be fascinated? So anyway, so I like to trim them, I like to grow them, and I always say to some, as a joke, but they're serious, they say, what would you like to do if you wouldn't have all this stuff you have to do? I said, I would like to be a bonsai grower and a stone carver. That's, for some reason, would be my ideal life.
And when you say stone carver, do you mean sculptor, or do you mean carving words in stone?
No, no, not words. No, my words are illuminated. My words are not in letters, okay? I'm not a letter writer, see? So I'm still pretty, writing is not one of my strong things. Mm-hmm. Sculpture is my favorite thing.
Mm-hmm. Did you, do you still paint and sculpt, or have you sort of retired from?
I don't know if I'm retired, but I'm not a painter, sculptor anymore. I still am who I am, but I have so much stuff. I got so many paintings, so many sculpture pieces, I can barely lift them. I don't know what to do with, and my idea is, tell me, why would you produce more if you don't know what to do with what you have? So basically, I'm sort of retired as a painter and sculptor. Doesn't mean I couldn't do something if you asked me to, but basically I'm too involved restoring houses and taking care of the family thing, a sick father-in-law and this and that, but right now painting and sculpture is not one of my things I would do.
Do you have sort of an idea of what you would like to see happen with those sculptures and paintings? What would you like to see ideally if you could choose?
Well, ideally, if I'm almost willing to give half of them to some gallery or museum or somebody, or to school or something, but it's very hard to find somebody, I have this huge painting that I did that is almost as big as this wall, and I don't know what to do with it. I was offering it to the Baltimore Museum because I was teaching there for 10 years, and all that. And they say, well, we were glad to, but no, it's maybe a historic society, because it has to do with, okay, what it has to do is this. I had no home, no family for years. I came to America, and finally, after being 30-something years old, I'm buying this house, on 25th, Calvert and 25th in Baltimore. I'm buying this house, and one day I'm in the yard doing whatever, and I hear over the radio the neighborhood burning, looting, raping, killing, and I turn around and says, you dumb so-and-so. You survive all that, and then you're buying your first house, your first home in this neighborhood? So that got me so upset that I took this huge canvas, I would say at least as big as that, and I painted this canvas of burning, looting, raping, all God knows, what. And I have it, and nobody wants it. And it's a Baltimore history. Mm-hmm. So the museum told me to go to Baltimore Historic Society and see if they can use it.
What year was that? What decade?
That was in the late 60s, 70s or something. I don't know. My dates are all messed up because I forget things, but that was at that time, and I was very upset.
Well, you've experienced a lot. I mean, Baltimore had some very difficult times after the assassination of Martin Luther King. There were extensive riots.
Yeah. No, I really was very upset. And I still have it, and I don't know what to do with it. I almost was going to burn it, but I said, no. I couldn't find a match.
So painting is a kind of a therapy for you?
I don't know if it's therapy. I think it's something that I have to do, or want to do, or something in my life possesses it to do it, and I don't know why, but as of now, I don't know what to do with what I have, so I don't want any more.
Do your students still keep in touch with you?
Yes, there are quite a few students still in touch with me. I see some, as a matter of fact, 2 days ago somebody calls me all the way from Florida. I don't even know who the heck it is. Well, it's one of my ex-students whose mother was one of my students, and he said, well, I just thought about it and I wonder how you're doing and all that. And there is a student in here who is teaching photography, who has a show, and I know him as a student, you know. So yeah, there are quite a few students, and they are very good students. As a matter of fact, Linda von Hart is one of my first students. As a matter of fact, when I first came in and started teaching, she was one of the first students. Yeah.
And now she teaches here at McKinney.
Oh, she's been teaching here quite a while. Yeah, she's something else. Yeah.
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 It's amazing. You must have touched so many lives over the years.
Ellen Van Diesen, the one who did the mural, and who does it, she was one of my students. She was, and she's running everywhere. She's painting murals all over the place and all that. No, she's fantastic. So, it was a great experience for me.
That's wonderful. Did you ever get a chance to go back to Ukraine?
As a matter of fact, in '91, after '91, when they finally could get rid of the Russian communists and they finally allowed you to go back, I decided to go, because before that, if I were, first I don't know if they would have let me in. Second one, since I was under Germany during the war, whether I liked it or not has nothing to do with the Russians. That means I was not qualified to be a Ukrainian or Russian thing. So they would have probably put me in Siberia or something. I know they would have put my father in Siberia or killed him, because he was in a rubber factory. Do you know that the Germans were the first inventor of fabricated rubber? They were the ones who make. So you can imagine being a slave labor in a factory of rubber. Can you imagine the smell and all that in there? Well, he would have been put in Siberia or killed. So yeah, after '91, I decided to go, and I went to my ex-village and other places. I didn't know anybody, obviously. The house that I was living in is not there. They destroyed it. You know, it's nothing but flat. And I saw some people who might have known my father or so, but it wasn't much contact, so I don't have any contact with him.
What was the name of the village where you were born or where you grew up?
Well, the village that I left was Juril, and then my father was born in Wasyl, and they're little tiny places in the hills, you know. So they're not, most of them not even on the map. So.
Your father was able to join you in the United States after some time.
Yeah, after 2 years me being here and all that, I helped to sponsor him here, but he wasn't very happy. He just had enough. So after a couple of years, he died.
He had a very hard life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have a wife and 2 children?
Yeah, I have a wife, Oksana, and we have twin girls, Ksenia and Natalka. Ksenia is married, has 2 children in Philadelphia with a nice Italian guy, and the other one, Natalka, is just, she doesn't know what she wants yet.
So how does it feel to be a grandfather? Did you imagine when you were a little boy someday, could you imagine yourself being a grandfather?
I don't know. You know what? I cannot get over what women go through to raise 2 children. I still would say, I don't know who, somebody would condemn me, I still would rather have a job than take care of 2 children and cooking and all that. Is a heck of a long job, 24 hours a day. And unfortunately, a lot of it is not appreciated. I do appreciate it, because I tell you, when I see my daughter Ksenia would come, and they just left because of my birthday. They just left. And it's a 24 hours. They get 2 or 3 hours of sleep, because one kid is sick, the other one doesn't eat, and all this. So I really don't envy women. I tell you, that's a heck of a job.
Are your kids, your grandkids, artistic?
How do I know? One is 7 months and the other one is 2.5.
Are you going to teach them art?
I'll teach something, but personally, between you and me, I would not encourage them to be artists.
Why not?
Because, you know, art is it's a choice that you have to make yourself. It is not a profitable thing as a rule. It doesn't mean you can't make a living. It just means that it's a little bit more difficult, you see, to make a good living. So you have to really be exceptional or lucky or somebody discover you or what, I don't know what. So be whatever they're going to be, it's all right with me. She's like a ballerina, she likes to dance, and all he does is smile. He's only 6 months, that's all he's doing, smile. His name is Mateo.
And your granddaughter?
My granddaughter, Sophia.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's excellent. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything that you'd like to sort of, say that we haven't talked about?
There's a lot of things I could say about it, but basically I think we've sort of had a good beginning, and you have some more of my resume in there and all that, but we can always talk later on if you want. So, plus you have to go someplace, don't you? So,
Thank you so much, Wasyl. Thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure, thank you. It's a pleasure seeing you again, and to say hi to your hubby and all that, okay?